Hey guys, good morning, and thanks for logging on here to bamwx.com for your latest long range forecast update. Michael Clark here with the latest, little bit of a shorter video today, but just in terms of just an update in terms of targeting or pattern transition, a pattern change from where we've been, what you see here, to where we believe we're going to go. And that really starts to take shape here those first few days of October. As the thought process kind of alluded to that yesterday. Overall, no significant changes here to any of the current thought process. This is a look here at the rainfall forecast for week one. Actually, heavy thunderstorm activity ongoing this morning out already across portions of Iowa. Um, Even some stronger thunderstorms just west of Des Moines, a big swath of rain here across Illinois and portions of southern Wisconsin as well this morning. Next week, the pattern will subside a little bit. Remember yesterday I talked about I don't think we're getting into the overall much wetter pattern just yet, but I think as we get into October, that's probably going to be something that we're talking about here as we get closer to that. So overall here, taking a look, I just want to go down to again, something I touched on yesterday. This is the 30-day percent of normal rainfall. A lot of folks here in the central U.S. that were really dry over the last 30 days are getting some very much needed rainfall here today and over the next several days. All right, so that again is encouraging. However, this is the 1 to 5 day GFS. I will say some local Indiana farmers that actually longtime clients I saw yesterday were harvesting, taking corn out. So it's very interesting to note that some of that is already coming out mid-September. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, how warm and dry it's been has really, really rapidly accelerated the time at which we would normally harvest crops. So um, that's something to keep in mind. You all know a lot more than I do in that regard in terms of how your farms are doing. It may be getting really close to that time for a lot of folks. And so a wetter pattern would not be ideal at this point in time. So we need to kind of target that. That's the idea here. Here's the 6 to 10 day forecast from the GFS in the drought areas. Again, some pretty significant rains coming, which is good. It's good to get the rain to replenish some soil moisture. There's no doubt about it. Let's take a look at the overnight model run trends here. Again, much wetter trends for the European here on the right, especially across East Iowa, Western Illinois, Northern Missouri. We kind of talked about this, alluded to this yesterday in our reports as well. Brett did a great job kind of sniffing that out. The 7-day rainfall forecast, again, it's pretty wet. Now, for a lot of folks who might be getting out into the fields and harvesting here over the next week, this is pretty ideal. I mean, temperatures at or slightly above normal and dry for the most part. Okay. The week 2 forecast right now, here's the way it looks. We're continuing this stagnant pattern. We're not targeting a transition yet, a change just yet. This is going to get us out into that 8 to 14 day time frame. Some rain chances mixed into this, but not wetter and not overall cooler just yet. So we'll continue this pattern here out for the next couple of weeks. Again, you can see here in that 11 to 15 day from the American, the GFS ensemble, and the European ensemble, we're not quite targeting that just yet. So what I want to show you here is kind of the idea, and we've got a pretty good set of years or analogs that are kind of supporting this, but this upper level pattern right now is very similar to some mid 2000 years, years like 06, 2014, 2015, even 09 and 10. This interesting big Hudson Bay Ridge with a low into the east and in the Atlantic and a low over there in the Northeast Pacific as well. Watch what starts to happen. This is a blend of all three of the weather model ensembles. Watch what starts to happen here. We start to kind of retrograde the pattern and start to back it up. In these years that I just mentioned, what starts to happen is this particular feature here starts to retrograde west, and we open it up for a trough, and that trough is already trying to develop here. This would also be replaced too with some more positive heights. I think the dominant pattern driver potentially for the month of October is going to be that plus PNA. And that's what's going to really drive, I think, the transition to cooler and possibly significantly cooler. I think October could be a cold month, even mid to late October, especially central eastern U.S. As this transition happens, a couple of things I'm going to watch as we kind of pass some convection through the Pacific Ocean. I would not be shocked if later next week there is a, or maybe possibly a couple Western Pacific typhoons that will throw into the mix here to possibly have to watch even for some recurves and possible bigger cold shots here mid to late October. The positive P&A, which is the big ridge I just discussed that looks to try and start to materialize. We're going to start noticing much more westerly wind burst action here as we get into October as well. Note the easterlies in here. A product of El Nino is getting into these Nino forcing stages and also seeing westerly winds show up, which again also support the plus P&A being possible. All right, this is a look at the European ensemble Pacific North American oscillation. Okay, again, getting out, and this is those first couple days of October, seeing a pretty good suggestion of going positive with that P&A. Here's the GEFS, the American ensemble, also doing the same thing. Really good, really getting that going there by the 3rd and 4th of October, and the Canadian ensemble doing the same thing. If we look at the extended, the GEFS that goes out, now this would take us really all the way through the 21st of October. We see that plus P&A suggestion is there. We see also the negative EPO. So really I'm looking at this pattern that's this ridging, that's set up over the Hudson Bay. We're looking at retrogression, taking that ridge, retrograding it, trough developing underneath, and the colder risks really subsequently will follow. This is what those years look like. You can see it right here. You can see the pattern transition to that plus P&A Eastern U.S. trough. 06, 14, and 15 were years that were very similar to this. And that's what really when, the entire change is probably we're probably looking at member 3 for the most realistic, look here. Regardless, the global wind pattern will start to catch up too here by that first week of October. We've seen a continuously negative global wind pattern or negative angular momentum, which has kept this atmosphere very La Nina-like. Indications of that coming to a change as well. Watch the last 20 runs of the CFS model for October, noting the same thing, some high latitude blocking and the northern ridge there setting up in the Pacific North and West. Also will lead to a trend in a wetter forecast for October, we believe. I do believe October features plenty of activity in the storm department and some early season shots of cold air, okay? When we look at these years in the analogs, this is our forecast. This was issued back actually on August 29th. Impressive forecast from meteorologist Brett Waltz. There's not very many people that are as good as he is at this stuff. So just keep that in mind. When you see his name there, you know that it's probably pretty good for the most part. But this is a forecast back from the 29th of August for below normal temperatures. The analogs at that time were for 300 HDDs. It would not shock me if our HDDs go up a little bit. Right now we're at 280. I wouldn't be shocked at a 295 bump or something with above normal precipitation chances. We did update this yesterday, and again, I do think it is active, but it's very similar to the analog packages down below, especially down across the deep south. As I mentioned yesterday, that subtropical jet stream firing up, a product of El Nino, will make this pattern transition quite wet. This is the European seasonal for October. Again, it's got a forecast for most of the central and eastern U.S. to be wetter than average. I'll tell you what, these European seasonals are pretty interesting as you get into mid to late winter. They have a dramatic high latitude blocking pattern setting up across North America and the Northern Hemisphere for January, February. They've got a blockbuster winter advertised right now in the European model if you like snow. Okay, so across the Ohio Valley, southern Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast especially. So that's all I have for today. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.